The diabolical things Chinese emperors did during their reign. Sitting over golden dragons and having succession from their ancestor at a very young age made many Chinese emperors tyrants and lewd in nature. Who were these Chinese emperors that proved to be the end of their glorious era? What were the crimes committed by them? How they unveiled a noxious conspiracy against them? Chinese dynasties are famous among historians both for their excellent governance policies and the weirdness of their psychopath lustrous emperors. Their wine pools and meat gardens, harems full of beautiful concubines, and back-to-back defeats against other kings were the root cause of their plunge. They showed good jurisdiction at the start of their reign, but fell prey to various diabolic activities that made them top of the list of most tyrant emperors in Chinese history. Many of them were actually more foolish and didn't pay attention to their peace-bringing policies. Instead, they spent their time killing innocents and embellishing their entertainment plazas. The entire gospel in this video will give you imaginary wings to visit the majestic world of the Chinese dynasty without having a time machine. So join us in this venture without blinking your eyes. Gao Yang. Gao Yang, who is also known as Emperor Guozhou of Han, had a reign period from 195 BC to 28 February 202. He was the founder of the dynasty. He had a great start with good governance and excellent performance in the area of economic matters. He had a good influence over his people and all the surrounding empires. His strict nature made his ministers obey him. He also reduced taxes and handled everything with a great intellectual approach. But Gao Yang had a bad habit of drinking. Soon he became a regular alcoholic and lost his wits and focus. Whenever he was drunk, he used to kill people in a rage. He also misbehaved with his elders, including his mother, in a drunken state. Out of regret, he promised his mother to quit alcohol, but could not keep his promise for long. According to historical shreds of evidence, he had a chamber full of slaves to get slaughtered by the king whenever he was angry. He had many women as his companions and started spending most of his time with them rather than utilizing it in state affairs. He unified the whole of China and took control by forming the Han dynasty and emerged as the winner in the Battle of Gaicha. He died in Changal Palace on the 1st of June 195 BCE and was succeeded by his son Li Yang. Togun Timur. Togun Timur ruled the Northern Dynasty in 1333. His reign lasted from 1333 to 1368. He had his throne at a very young age, and due to the addiction to power, he became a tyrant and showed a lack of interest in well-being of his people. He had a harem full of concubines and meat gardens. His equally wicked chancellors suggested killing people with common names, and it was nearly 90% of the population. He also made a stage for himself so he could enjoy dance performances after his working hours. He was much of an interesting character in history as he liked to dress as a monk and host large open sex parties while enjoying drinking and gambling. When Timur became bored of these activities, he usually chose to hide and contribute his time by heading the construction of a personal water clock and luxury boat. Due to his negligence at times of flood in his region, a rebellious leader, Zhu Wanzhang, dismantled his throne, so he had to leave his porch life and shifted to Mongolia, where he died disgracefully with diarrhea in 1370. Han Ai-Di. Han Ai-Di was another infamous emperor of Chinese history, but he was not notoriously anticipated for his killings and death rituals. He was accused of promoting the passion of the cut sleeves. Han Ai-Di, whose original name was Liu Xin, was born in 27 BCE. He reigned from 7 to 1 BCE. Everyone was very excited about his crown as he was intelligent, young, and brave. But he was extremely controlled by his grandmother's consort, Dowager, who wanted to be the Grand Empress. Han Ai-Di was notorious as he promoted homosexuality in Chinese culture, which was highly objectable at that time. He had a large harem of young, handsome, and tempting males. He also offered male concubines to his officials. He became fascinated with a young male Dongzhan at first sight and was allowed to sit him in his lap. He once joked about resigning in favor of Dongzhan, which was considered highly unrespectable to his senators. He spent most of his time in lewd activities and lost interest in ruling the great dynasty. It was famous that one afternoon, the emperor found Dongzhan sleeping on his arm. As to not disturb his lover, the king cut off his sleeve. Han Ai was not suitable for being an emperor because he was just a man soaked in love from head to toe. Later on, his shortcomings led him to be succeeded by Emperor Ping. Dong was awarded high ranks, and he became commander of the army by the time of Han Ai's death in 1 BCE. After the death of the emperor, Dong was forced to commit suicide. Zhao Yu Wang. The 12th emperor of the Chinese dynasty, Zhao Yu Wang, was also known as the King Yu of Zhao, had a reign period of 781 BC to 771 BC. The incompetent emperor spent all of his ruling time in various respite activities. Wang was well known for having beautiful ladies all the time around him, serving him with vine meat and transfixing dance performances. As soon as Bao Si entered his palace, he was so impressed by her charm that he immediately replaced her with his queen. Bao was melancholic in nature and did not smile a lot, so the king arranged a prank indicating that the barbarians were marching toward the capital, and he enlightened the war alarms too. All of his army and allies reached to rescue the capital, but came to know that it was merely a prank to make the emperor's consort smile. This prank was repeated so many times that in event of actual war, no one came to rescue the king, and he was killed during the invasion in 771 BC. Sun Hao. There is another tyrant emperor on the list of savage rulers. Sun Hao was born in 243 and had a disastrous reign period from 264 to 280. Sun had a very abstract approach at first. He served his people with full devotion and utilized his time in working for the prosperity of his state. He reduced taxes and improved many other policies in the favor of the common man. He also tamed many corrupt officials and sends a message of justice in his judiciary matters. But soon he became a tunnel of his responsibilities and filled his time with outstanding vinegary, women, and meat. He was a madman and ordered the assassination of his officials on little discords. Sun had shown great interest in adorning his harem. He chose beautiful women from the family of his officials to make them a part of his harem. He once executed one of his mandarins for scolding her concubine on the allegation of stealing. He was also a sociopath who had a great love for alcohol. He used to drink all the time and forced his ministers to drink on great feasts arranged by him. If he saw someone who did not drink at his invitation, he chopped down their heads. Sometimes he showed mercy by not slitting their throats. Instead of it, he mutilated their faces horrendously. His cruelty was at a full peak as he also involved his blood in it. Once, a conflict arose between his two sons, Sunhe and Sunba. He immediately ordered Sunba to commit suicide and send Sunhe out of the province to vanish this discord. He died in 284 at the age of 41. Liu Zai. Liu Zai was an emperor of Liu Song with a very short reign period of 1 year, 464 to 466, as he was a furious and suspicious man. He had great insecurities towards his loyal relatives, which is why he started assassinating them in full range. He ordered many of his relatives to commit suicide. He also had illicit relationships with his own aunt Liu Yin Mai. Because of it, he murdered his uncle He. Mai, who knew his nephew's dirty intentions. Liu Zai took his eyes and stored them in honey as an example and called it pickled ghost eyes. He also had an illegal sexual relationship with his sister. Her harem was filled with many young male concubines after she complained to her brother about the limited pleasure she had with him. Open sex was as common as singing a song in the garden during this period. He was beheaded by his uncle Liu Prince of Zhongdang in 466. Wu Zaitan. Wu Zaitan was born on the 17th of February 624 and ruled the Zhao dynasty from 690 to 705. She was the only empress of China, but this did not make her fewer tyrants than any other emperor. She killed her own daughter to demolish the threat to her throne and accused Empress Wang of her murder so she could readily marry the emperor. After executing Wang for her conspiracy, she also poisoned the king to crown herself as empress. She extinguished 15 bloodlines of her family in just 1 year of her rule. She had a dangerous spy police at her service to crack down on any collusion against her. Despite this, Zaitan was also very lustrous and lewd, as she had a harem of youthful and handsome male concubines who she used as boy toys. Wu Zaitan also allowed two of her favorite boy toys to manage her court, which was behind schedule and transformed into a gambling hub with open prostitution in it. She had a sexual relationship with the highest monk, which is why she wanted him to announce her as the next reincarnation of Buddha. She had her last days in peace by transferring the power to Emperor Zhongzong in 705.